myself, Max McGillivray of Beanstalk. Pleasure to have you on today on our healthy and sustainable food broadcast. Very exciting because I think this is, what do you reckon, guys? Is this our third one or fourth one? Fourth, seriously, wow. So Barbara, Mark, Jacqui, just say hello to everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
We'll have a quick catch up with them properly in a moment. If you're not aware of Beanstalk, we're looking to make a difference in the fresh food sectors in the UK on an international basis, and we're aligned to some key groups to help them prosper and to get their message out. And we had a great announcement yesterday that we're just going live with the PMA in South Africa to promote South African fresh produce on a monthly ongoing basis for the rest of the year. And we've got a couple of more major announcements coming out on a similar basis very shortly. And we're hoping that the likes of the group Healthy and Sustainable Food that's been with us from the start will be able to prosper as we go further down the line with more very interesting broadcasts on a UK and international basis. So who is the Healthy and Sustainable Food Group? We've got three very key industry professionals, and they've all come together to create this unique group. And the aim is to constantly examine what would be the results if people from different sectors were to collaborate on solutions to produce healthy, sustainable food ongoing. And we have the three founders. We have Barbara Bray, MBE, Director of Alio Solutions. We have Mark Driscoll, Director of Tasting the Future. And we have Jacqui Green, Director of Viridis Associates. So their aim is to improve nutritional quality of foods and availability for all socio-economic groups in the UK. They're going to do this by bringing individuals from the different sectors together for projects on sustainable nutrition. And Beanstalk is very, very proud to be hosting the fourth in the series of monthly broadcasts for healthy and sustainable food. So the subject that we're going to be talking about today is how can we leverage finance to develop viable innovation to support healthy and sustainable produce in the UK. It's obviously a highly topical subject. Barbara, why did you want to choose this subject for the merry month of January, please?
It was a subject that came out of our broadcast on British produce when we realised that people who have got, people who are SMEs or businesses that are SMEs aren't necessarily able to access finance in the same way. And that's obviously going to hinder their progress and development, because the level of innovation they can do is always going to be limited to the amount of cash they have. And when you're a business that's turning over £100 million, you can easily go to a high street bank and get a loan, and they can be sure that they're going to get their money back. So I think for me, it was about exploring what the options are and seeing how people can access innovation more easily so that they don't have to carry all of the risk, and then find somebody who can invest in them or help them along that journey to get it to fruition, so they can, maybe perhaps have a higher efficiency or at least have some benefit from that.
And Mark, do you think, with you being one of the UK's leading sustainable experts within fresh foods, do you think there's a bit of a conflict between finance and sustainability?
No, I don't think so at all. But I think the issue here is healthy, sustainable, fresh produce isn't necessarily rewarded. We're on an unlevel playing field, particularly in terms of government subsidies tend to go into traditional crops and farming techniques. And actually, we need to re-level that playing field around subsidies and investments. And actually, we're not really reflecting the true cost of foods. Other foods that are more unsustainable or unhealthy cost us in terms of the cost on NHS or dealing with various health food related impacts, and we're paying in terms of sustainability. So we have to level up that investment playing field from my perspective.
And Jacqui, we've spoken quite a lot of late about your values. With you being a previous CEO of one of the UK's largest fresh produce companies, the values of finance and growing a business, do they sort of equate where we're going as a sector, do you think?
It's an interesting one, Max, and I guess how do you reconcile sustainability and profits? And I think sustainability has just traditionally been seen as all about the environment and all about tick box exercise, but actually it's such a broad area. So businesses that are putting together sustainability strategies that really encompass all of this piece around healthy food and longevity in the industry, recognize that you have to make money in order to reinvest in innovation, automation, better health, better services to consumers. And to recognise that's not a dirty word is really important. So for me, profit, and it's above my head, profit sits alongside all of the other parameters. And I think industry leaders need to make sure that they don't disappear down the rabbit hole of sustainability, meaning environmental issues only.
Well done. And Jacqui, whilst we got you on, can we just show off on your behalf? I know it's a little bit of a segue, but I think it's really important. Are you okay to just to nominate your new position on an international basis that you've just gained?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I've been very, very privileged and very humbled to be asked to join the board, the global board of Global Women Fresh. So it's an organisation of women across all of fresh produce and some fresh foods around the world. And it's all around empowering women in every hemisphere, in every continent, to be able to become better educated, better informed, and to get equality effectively. Some of the numbers are really quite surprising in terms of the percentage of ladies who are farmers around the globe. In sub-Saharan Africa, 70 or 80% of fresh produce is produced by females, but actually only less than 20% of them are landowners. So there's a lot of work to do, but it's not just about sub-Saharan Africa. Some of the numbers close to home are equally in need of changing the dials. So yeah, absolutely delighted to join Julie and the broader board and add value in any way I can. Thank you.
That's it. And I think with what I've learned through you and Mark and Barbara with this group on the sustainability element of what I've learned through Global Women Fresh, because we also host a broadcast for them on a monthly basis about diversity. I think the two elements that you're now going to be majoring on in a really high profile manner is going to be fantastic. So well done on that. Congratulations. We look to with great excitement to see the changes that you're going to assist them to make within the world of fresh produce for Global Women Fresh.
Thank you, Max.
So coming back to the broadcast matter, guys, it feels like you guys are experts, but it feels like we need, I don't know, what do you reckon, 3 other experts to tell us about the subject, about how we can leverage finance. Who's got the magic wand? Mark, you wave your magic wand and let's get these other experts in, please. He's not going to do it. Yes, he has. Can everyone else come back in? Fantastic. So here we have got Professor Simon Pearson, we have got Rob Ward, and we've got Peter Cowley. And what we're going to do is I'm just going to have a quick interview with each of them in turn to get a bit of understanding as to who they are so that you, our audience, can learn from them. And then at the end, we're going to go to a Q&A session with everyone that you can see on the screen. So if you've got any questions on this subject about how we can leverage finance to develop viable innovation, please start sending them in now through Zoom or through LinkedIn or through Facebook, so I can ask them everyone. So initially, Peter, Simon, Rob, can you just say hello to everyone?
Hello.
Fantastic. So let's start with Simon. Could everyone turn off their videos apart from Simon, please? So Simon, this is where I do the big rah-rah for your good self. So you are the Professor of Agri-Food Technology and the Founding Director of the Lincoln Institute of Agri-Food Technology at the University of Lincoln.
Yay,
that twice.
right. Yep.
Hey, his research group focuses on the application of robotics and digital technologies across the farming sector. And your research includes programs to develop robotic platforms to selectively harvest crops, but also digital platforms to connect fresh produce supply chains. Prior to joining Lincoln, Simon spent 15 years in industry, including as a technologist for Marks and Spencer's PLC. So Simon, the agenda to making sure that finance flows into innovation, does there need to be an agenda? Does there need to be innovation? Does there need to be robotics within the fresh produce sectors?
Oh, there's never been a time when we need it more. I mean, if we look at the challenges in the industry, it's just unprecedented. Brexit, seasonal migrant workers, access to labour, massive problem. Changes in national living wage, putting cost pressure up. Technical barriers to trade in terms of moving produce through supply chains and cross borders. There has never been a time that we need more innovation. And then you've got all those societal issues of food, diet, regressive tax, and food inflation. These are all sorts of challenges that we need to face. Now, if you look at the track record of the produce industry, it's been absolutely brilliant. you would say, how have we managed to keep food inflation flat for the last 20, 30 years? Well, it's been done and the industry's survived just about. It's a very challenging industry, highly competitive, but innovation has been absolutely key.
Okay, and Simon, are you a lone voice out there, or are there other Simons in the UK or globally looking to make this difference that you are?
No, there's a whole community of us, and you know, I think the UK is actually in a really good position. There's a lot of innovation going on in the UK. The AgTech Catalyst, which is a government investment a few years ago, £170 million, really kicked off the innovation in ag technology in the UK, and that's gone worldwide. So we've got a lot of innovation. Actually, through the lens of Brexit, we've known that we've got our problems earlier than the rest of the world. So there's been a lot of focus on robotics, particularly for selective harvesting and automation. But all around the world, they've got the same problems. So you've got demographics of age. There's going to be more people in China in 10 years' time who are over the age of 65 than the entire population of the EU. You've had Donald Trump, who's now gone, but Mexican workers, famously. So all of these problems are big demographic problems around the world, and we need to get them solved. And innovation, it's not the panacea, but it's part of the solution.
So let's get into the nuts and bolts of it. What are you actually creating at the University of Lincoln? What's the difference that you're going to be making there, please?
So we've got a pretty big research group now, really focusing on robotics. So we've got a pipeline of about 65 PhDs with Cambridge and UEA who are working on robotic technologies. We're looking at a whole range of things, real big focus on produce, strawberry robotics, harvesting. So we know Dogtooth and we know Saga quite well. We're working with those people.
Brilliant.
We're working on broccoli harvesters. We're working on mushroom harvesters. So there's a whole raft of innovations around selective harvesting. But then we're broadening. So there's lots of challenges on the environment, sustainability. How do you monitor carbon in supply chains, things like that. So, and then digital technology, use of AI, machine learning to drive productivity. But you know, it's breathtaking. The speed is breathtaking. The innovation that's going on.
And do you need more assistance from the sector, for the fresh produce sector, to assist you and your colleagues make a success of this all?
Yeah, it's an absolute dependency, symbiotic, if you like. It's the best way to do it. We can't live without each other. We've got to be working with industry to co-create. We've got to know what demand is. We've got to be able to respond to demand. We need to work on farms to test the technology, but we've got to have people who want to buy that technology and have a real need for that technology. UK produce, very organised, and it's been wonderful to work with them, because you've got relatively few, I have to say, relatively few big organisations that you can work with, and you've got scale, and that's been very helpful, and that's accelerated. It's given the UK quite a competitive position, I think.
And Simon, can I just give you an odd example? With my recruitment hat on, about 5-6 years ago, we worked with a dairy business that created robotic milking machines. And I was speaking to a key client the other day who's runs a dairy, and they're actually turned off because of that automation of the automatic milkers. And I couldn't believe it. I said, why is that then? Because when it goes wrong, we can't fix it. We have to get a service manager out who has to do a 500-mile round trip. They've got a problem because they can't get enough key staff to come in either on an apprenticeship basis or on a conventional basis to be taught. So we've ended up going back to our old system. The automatic milkers, they work when they do, they're fantastic, but when they don't, it's very difficult. I don't know if you picked up earlier this week that there's a big problem with car manufacturers at the moment because there's a shortage of chips coming out of China. So the likes of Audi have had to slow up production. Is this just part of the growing pains of this sector evolving so quickly, or are there going to be some big bottlenecks that actually we're going to have to be worried about?
Yeah, wonderful. You mentioned robotic milking, invented in the UK at Silso, but actually, Silso 15 years ago, but then developed overseas, so in Holland, Lely, and people like that. So one of those really annoying examples of where we've not been able to develop our technology ourselves. Yeah. But it's not just on robotic. It's you can't just turn these innovations on. It's about the whole supply chain around innovation. Yes. It's critical. and the skill base on farm. And I ran a company in the industry that had 900 daffodil pickers. Well, how do you replace 900 people? It's not about replacing the people. It's actually how do you upskill your management in your business to actually take on these new technologies. If you're relying on seasonal migrant workers, your staff are used to managing people. They are regimental sergeant majors. They're not engineers. And we've got to look at the whole system. We've got to upskill around the whole system. And that's the only way we're going to bed this technology in. But if you're faced with no pickers at all, it's going to drive change.
And Simon, I think that's such an intelligent comment. It's not just the new piece of whiz-bang kit that's going to pick the daffodils. As you say, it's the whole supply chain. So it's great that you're referring that to all of us, that we need to fundamentally change our whole supply chain so that piece of new equipment coming in is going to be beneficial all the way through the supply chain.
Yeah, many examples of failure, basically because people haven't looked at the whole system and they've taken the buy a machine, it'll work. Well, it rarely does. You've got to work at it.
Simon, stay there. Rob, could you come in, please? So, Rob, with the projects that you've been involved in, are you seeing this ever increasing march towards automation, to robotics, as per being led by Simon and his team?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've got two jobs. One, I help ag tech businesses in the UK, but also I work for the DIT as their deal maker to find innovations in agri-food tech around the world and then bring them back to the UK. So either way, I believe I'm getting a global understanding of this. But what is interesting is that people see what they do in many cases within farming, the food supply chain, as normal. Many parts of this is normal, but in fact, there's huge levels of waste. I don't mean as in produce going in the bin, but just general how things are done. And it's amazing what can be done when you start to deal with that. A simple example, working with a business that's measuring orchards and is able to completely map out an entire orchard. And the orchard industry at the moment predicts its crop in the summer ahead of the autumn harvest, which is averages between 40% out. So they're either underselling it, that's a problem, or they're overselling it, which is also a problem. But also a third of the apples are never sold off the farm. What these guys are doing is that they've got it down to between 5 and 10% accuracy on yield forecasting. So the marketing desks have a much clearer idea what they've got to sell. But they're also individually mapping every single tree, and then a precision sprayer will then determine how many blossoms, the ideal amount for that tree. And you start to think, well, this is not expensive technology. It's giving amazing increases in productivity and profitability. That's a very investable way for both the farm to grow more apples, but also or top fruit, or this technology to be incorporated. But I think the whole story thing is a great point just being made there about this data needs to work across the entire end to end, and that's something I really go on about an awful lot to ag tech businesses. Think like fintech. Fintech is solving a specific problem and then allowing many other problems that you're not part of to integrate with that. So you can then digitally share this all the way through, which makes it super efficient.
Well done. Simon, if there's any questions for Simon when we get into the Q&A, start to present them in. And Simon, if you could just turn off your video so that I can have our catch up with Rob. And if it's okay, Rob, I'm just going to give a bit of a background on yourself for those on the record or those on the podcast that will not know who you are. Can you imagine that, Rob? Someone that doesn't know who you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Rob was a farmer for the first 30 years of his life on the family farm in Shropshire, which became one of the largest soft fruit suppliers to the UK supermarkets. And whilst developing and running the business, he also patented the world's first commercial available field scale hydroponic strawberry growing system. And the DNA of this ag tech innovation can today be found in 90% of commercial UK strawberry production. So it's great, Rob, to have you on this broadcast because you obviously know what you're talking about. And after successfully selling the farming and hydroponics businesses, he created and built and sold 3 food businesses. These range from food tech, farm shop retail, and wholesale distribution. Recently, as you said, Rob, you've been appointed as the Agri-Food Tech DIT deal maker for the Global Entrepreneurs Program. I have to say, when I saw that announcement on LinkedIn, I thought that was the I'm allowed to say this, the sexiest job title I've heard for a long while. So it's a well done for knocking it out of the park on that one. And Rob is working with brands in this sector, our sector, from across the entire planet, and is determined to demonstrate how the farming and food industry can contribute positively to solve climate change challenges and also have a profitable future for the farming and food industry. So Rob, if it's okay, just with your role with the DIT, what does that involve, please?
Yeah, I'm looking for brands all over the planet that then want to benefit from the UK environment. So we've got over 100 institutions. I'm delighted to meet the Lincolnshire team here. And there's over 100 institutions across the UK, resources for ag tech, 30 universities that have got ag tech courses. It's amazing. There's I think something like 200 million has been invested by their DIT in this sector, and there's hundreds of people employed in it to grow out our industry in this space. We're in really good shape to turn this into a powerhouse for ag tech, which is an amazing export opportunity. And if you want when you say ag tech, it's ag and food tech. If you look at one of the best examples is Ocado. Ocado is our biggest food tech business, and is now building 56 customer fulfillment centers around the world, in a very interesting business model as well, but we can talk about that another time. So there's a huge export opportunity for selling our technology that we develop here through the combined resources of the institutions that are already there. I also think very importantly is this cross section, and so within my team there are 16 of us. I only do ag and food tech, but there are other techs there, so fintech, martech, which is marketing technology, communications, all kinds of pharmaceuticals, bioscience, and we all work together. And I think the greatest opportunity is cross-pollinating ideas. Quite a few fintech ideas are now being used in ag tech. As an example, traceability systems that are adapting blockchain thinking around digital ledgers for trading are being used in traceability systems in farming. And so there's a lot of stuff that's already been done. In some cases, 10 years old and fully robustly tested in another industry. So crossing it over to our industry in many ways, across different ways. I mean, the company I mentioned about the orchards, that's nothing to do with farming. It's aeronautical and crowd control technology. So you just repurpose it and then create massive gains of productivity for the farm, and securing industry here. And horticulture is set to boom. I mean, you've even got Dyson building a strawberry production business in which it's becoming, I don't know if you've seen the level of following they're getting on LinkedIn, but it's off the scale. It's off the scale. It's amazing. So good luck to them. We're working with Dyson with other technologies on their farm, and I think they're a fantastic team. And James Dyson would not be doing any of this if he didn't think it was a good idea.
So your role, what do you want? What do you want from us? What do you want from the sector, or is it the other way around? Sorry to use such a crass expression. Are you the money? Are you the network?
So yeah, we've definitely got people that want to invest in this. The fact there are more investors, I think, than businesses at the moment. And interestingly, since in the last 6 weeks, I've had a number of funds that are moving into this sector that have asked me to help them find ideas. So I think it's a post or a COVID benefit of food is so critical to us, and we know that. But then, of course, you know, there is challenges around it. So what I do is bring it all together. I want to meet and get to know the amazing people like Lincoln team and others who have got their expertise in their specific areas, and then either find UK brands to go in there or international brands, and whether they're just to use that facility and pay for that, or in fact move their business here. Ultimately, I want to move their business here so they become a British company, that they then employ British people and ultimately grow produce for us and import replacement. There's 15 billion pounds of produce across the key areas, not just fruit and veg, but also apples and eggs and dairy, and key areas, all indigenous crops that we could produce here, 15 billion. So to replace that would be a good goal, and then to have really grow our export business and selling technology. It's very hard to sell produce around the world, but selling the technology that creates it is a good opportunity.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating that you mentioned about the Ocado model, because in effect they've turned in, as you again intimated, they've turned into a licensing brand. So Rob, what's the ideal sort of business or business idea that you would love to be presented to you, that you would love to have knocking on your door?
They need to be a really good team that covers the key areas of running a business. They need to have something that they've gone beyond just a concept, ideally at seed investment or post-seed investment. They need to be close to revenues. I'm a bit concerned at the moment about the level of grant money people are having and using that to live off that too much and not thinking about selling to customers. So really obvious areas of traction. I'm now starting to build relationships with high wealth farms that are looking to invest in technology and use that technology on their farm. So we're calling them the tiger farms, the forward-thinking hunting farms that want to be the next future in innovation and be part of the investment opportunity there. But they were using it first on their site, if you like, they're prototyping it or beta testing it. So ideas that are different, new. I won't be able to bring any business into the UK that is already here, that competes with it. So it's tested for that. So there's that. DIT would not shoot themselves in the foot in that way. So I have to go through protocols to make sure. But yeah, it's ideas around, and crucially, a business that delivers on profitability for a farm in year one, that is also creating massive gains to sustainability, i.e. better for the planet.
Wow. But
they need to deliver on profitability for the farm in year one. We've got an algae business in Florida, I mentioned to you before, but they are saving strawberry farms in Florida and other parts around the States $1,000 an acre by reducing inputs and improving yield just by an algae treatment. And that consumes CO2 and produces oxygen in its manufacturing process. It's a pretty amazing combination. So yeah, financially delivering year one for the farm, that's what I want to see. And secondly, does it actually make a big difference to the environment around us? And if they do both of those, I'm in.
Well done. So Rob, let's have a go at showing some of the videos of some of the companies that you're associated with. Wish me luck on this, because I never have much luck on Zoom on the sharing videos. So Rob, just as I'm getting this set up, let's just I'm going to get live with us first. Ian Wheel, can you just give us a bit of a background as I get that live for us?
Ian Wheel, I'm the founder of Breeder. Breeder is a livestock supply chain technology looking to digitize the existing livestock supply chain. It's been great to be part of the leadership hub over the last few months. What's been really exciting is you really tailored it very well to startups at a similar sort of stage. Every business has challenges, like in terms of growing and what we need to do. There's a really good group of people. And, as well as learning from you, Rob, it's obviously been just as good to learn from all of the other founders that are on that group. Whether you're delivering strawberries into a retailer or you're delivering meat into a retailer, and how you help communicate the benefits through them to the consumer, there's a lot of learnings that we have as an industry as supply chains change and compress and all of that sort of thing that I think the leadership hub has been brilliant for.
Jackson, I'm the CEO of True Algae. We basically produce algae as a biofertilizer. We're very fortunate to have Rob Ward come out to our production plant that you see behind us in Dover, Florida. We were just taken by Rob's knowledge of the industry, connections, effusive personality, and everything. So we really enjoyed working with him. Then he announced that he had this leadership hub. And we thought this was a tremendous opportunity for us to tap into a global network of like-minded ag tech entrepreneurs. As a startup entrepreneur, time is incredibly valuable. I could tell right away from the very first session that this was going to be, very valuable. What really struck me was the high level of the other CEOs that were there and the, how far they brought their companies along. It really was a cohort where we were all pretty much in the same stage, usually in year 2 or 3, had clearly passed the first hurdles. We were sharing stories, we were sharing, issues and problem solving together. And also it's the idea of networking, but at an exponential level, because each one of us through our teams have reached out to lots of people. It was a great chance for us to share contacts, ideas, solutions to help each other. We've established relationships with 3 of the companies. And I think the proof is in the pudding that we all agreed that we wanted to stay in touch as a whole group. I think that is a very tangible way of saying this was useful, very useful for our time and efforts.
I'd just like to thank Rob and team at Leadership Hub. This has been an experience that I'd recommend to anybody in the startup or non-startup, even anybody in agri-tech, food tech, or in that space at all. You'll find the information and the support absolutely essential to what you need as tools to go forward within the industry. Rob himself will give you first-hand knowledge of positions, scenarios that he's been in, lived and breathed, and that really gives you a point of comfort and gives you a real sense of, yeah, this is a good direction and good people to be around. I really enjoyed my time there, and I'm looking forward to staying in very close contact with the team as I go forward.
Yeah, Will's an amazing guy. He is part of a wholesale, good old-fashioned family wholesale fruit and veg business, and but he's created a digital platform, a trading platform, to improve how you can sell direct. So it's removing classically the old barriers of ways of trading. So it's enabling buyers and sellers in fresh produce to connect through his trading platform. He's really getting some tremendous results, and he is actually, his saving grace was that he managed to switch what was a food service supply chain in the first lockdown into find retail homes for it using his digital system, because it was so agile and so quick, and actually say something like 180 tons of produce in the space of 6 hours, something like that. That was due to be going to skip, and so it's basically creating a new trading marketplace for produce.
Well done, Rob. That's fantastic. Peter, could you come on in, please?
Shall I come off?
No, Rob, can you stay on, please, for a minute? Peter, I'd be
Okay.
fascinated to know, have you, with your tenure, which we'll just go into in a minute in a bit more detail, have you had much exposure with the DIT or government in general? And if so, what's your view of them being, positive or negative?
Yeah, I mean, my background is entrepreneurial, so I've actually been on a couple of foreign trips, at least with what was called the UKTI before it became the DIT. One to Australia, where it was happened to be at the same time as the Commonwealth Games. I wonder why that happened. And the second time was to Geneva, actually, for a different business. So no, I've met a lot of the guys there amongst the organisation, and it's an extremely positive experience I've had with the DTI, the people involved with it, and the process. So,
Peter, Peter, I was a bit worried when I asked that question. I thought, oh no, this is going to go one of two ways. And I think it's fantastic that it's gone that way. And Rob, on that side, again, we'll go into a bit more detail with Peter, as well as businesses. Rob, coming to you with concept ideas or early stage businesses. Are you also looking for connections, angels, funds for you to assist as well?
Definitely, the biggest area of, I think, investment missing in this sector is seed investment. So, different ways of defining that, but less than £500,000. So it's the 100,000 to £500,000 investment. So it's their first investment they're likely to receive. That's the biggest gap at the moment, and there are some amazing businesses that just are not making progress because of that. So yeah, connect with me to see how we can help people with that. And as I said, maybe the farms out there or other investors, but the tiger farms, I think, could be really exciting because they can be part of the trials of the product. It's the next stage on from the university prototyping to be beta testing the ideas, to then really after that scale them to make them into worldwide opportunities. These are worldwide problems we're solving, but we have to be doing that in a UK context. And these are very investable businesses with the right business opportunity and the right team. And my job is to try and is to get them match fit, if you like.
Okay, Rob, thank you. Could you just turn off your video, please? So Peter, let's give everyone a bit of a background on yourself, especially for the people on the podcast. So Peter is a Cambridge University technology graduate and founded and ran over a dozen businesses in technology and property over the last 40 years. He's built up a portfolio of 75 angel investments. Peter, when I read that, it's like having too many kids. You can't remember their names. I'd love to know, to have a conversation with you down the pub if you can remember every 75 of them, and I'm sure you can. So you built up a portfolio of 75 angel investments with 9 good exits, including one that is 107 times his investment and returned all the cash he's invested, and very, very candidly, 13 failures. He is a board member of the Global Business Angel Network and President Emeritus of the European Business Angel Network, and also former chair of the Cambridge Business Angels, and was UK Angel of the Year 2014. He has mentored hundreds of entrepreneurs and is on the board of 9 startups. So Peter, what was your feeling when you got that email to say that, or that phone call to say, Peter, congratulations, you're UK Angel of the Year 2014?
It wasn't. I was rung up and said, "Do you want to come along to this event, which was actually in Liverpool Cathedral, the more modern one, the one that was built in the last century." And it was quite nerve-wracking actually to turn up in that environment with about 400 people there, of which I probably knew 50 or 60 of them, some of my colleagues. And then the list of all the angels appeared, of all the people who had been shortlisted, and thinking, maybe that phone call wasn't to do with me winning. No, it was Jenny Tooth, UKBA, which is the trade body in the UK, who I then joined her board actually. No, that's accolade. Not sure why I got it, because there are this term super angel, and I actually don't like that, because super angels are usually associated with great returns in terms of monetary. But actually, the good angels are the ones that spend a lot of time. It's the smartness of the money. Rob will fully understand this. The smartness of the person that goes alongside the investment. So
Peter, how does it work with yourself that when you get when you get presented an investment to look at, is it a bit like a producer looking at a screenplay, or an actor looking at a screenplay, that you'll read the investment, and because of your knowledge and your experience and your expertise, can you work out very quickly whether it's good, bad, or ugly, whether you should kiss, marry, avoid?
Yeah, that actually segues into something I just want to say, which is where the term angel came from.
Thank you.
People will have seen Dragon's Den. That is not what angel investing is all about. That's television done in a certain different way and in a particular way, and probably half or 60% of all businesses that present at Dragon's Den don't get investment. The term actually comes from, as you just sort of alluded to, without knowing probably, theatre angels back in the middle of the 19th century. So this was people who had written something going out for funding from somewhere so they could put a production on. So they they needed the money both to pay the cast, potentially certainly to rent the theatre, for all the scenery and everything, and all the rehearsals, and then it would be put on, and it could be a flop that night, couldn't it? So they could actually lose all their money that day, or it could be something like the Mousetrap, which you'd have invested in that after whatever it is, 70 years now. You could still get your money back again. And this term, the theatre angels, was brought into the modern world, inverted commas, in the 70s by a research paper in California, and that's what I'm a business angel. This is the early, as Rob says, it's the early stages where friends and family money runs out, savings runs out, and they need more money before it gets on to maybe bank debt or possibly venture capital. It's that intermediary stage. So to your question itself, how do I know? And I should say I've done 75 investments because I got a bit addicted to this in an interesting way. It has built up a huge amount of knowledge, which has led to me be able to write a couple of books about it, which is sitting behind me, Investor, and Founder to Founder, because my 14 own founding companies, my 75, actually 76 as of yesterday, investments is now 90. So I am on 55 journeys and 35 are finished. So, I've built a lot of knowledge. Anyway, comes down to, and again, Rob mentioned this earlier on, people. It's backing people. Now, the sort of investments I make are pre the stage Rob was talking about. So they probably haven't got any customer income. They probably haven't got a minimal viable product, as it's called. They won't, if they're going down the patent route, they certainly won't be granted. So I invest then in a plan, but it's the people themselves. It's the team. It's very rare do angels invest in a single founder, and they rarely invest in 4 or more founders. So it's 2 or 3 people, and it's their ability to take the investment and grow the company. Shall we stop there? Yeah.
And just to go to the nuances a little bit more, Peter, can you can you identify pretty quickly? Is it? Oh, I'm going to use this rubbish expression. Is it a bit like walking to a car showroom and seeing a second-hand car, and you can pretty quickly establish that it's sitting on all four wheels. It's nicely polished. It's well looked after. The fabric's good. The engine's good. The fluids. Is this as simple as that with your experience, or do you have to do a deep dive with all of these projects to try and minimise the risk before you make an investment or walk away?
No, it is as you're doing when you meet new people. You can work it out fairly quickly within the first 60, 90, 120 seconds, whether there might be something there. Because it actually, in the end, it's at the very early stage, it's a chemistry between the investor and the investee. Because I've said many times, it's a bond. Once I've written you a check, Max, if you're the entrepreneur, it's a bond that's stronger than marriage. We can't break that bond. You can't give me the money back, and I can't sell my shares somewhere else. So we're then on the journey together for some time. So we've got to build up that trust bond. So yes, there is a little bit of this first 90 seconds or whatever, but you can't do much due diligence in 90 seconds. Yeah. All you can do is move on to the next stage. So the first stage is, and I don't get so many now, but I used to get about 1,500 business plans a year and invest in 6 or 7. So that means 199 out of every 200 I'm throwing away at some part of the process. Of course, many of those are the initial point. Either I see somebody on stage in the old days, or I have somebody coming into my inbox or whatever, and I still probably get 30 a week or 20 a week. So it's still quite a lot. They're still probably getting on for 1,000. And then the next stage is, and there's a funnel as anything. So like sales, you're going through a funnel, it's getting narrower and narrower, and you're doing more and more of this due diligence into the team, into the technology, into the market, into the finance and everything, until at the point where your disillusionment you basically become more and more disillusioned by the idea. And if you go below zero, you don't invest. And if it stays above zero, at some point, you get a deal and you write a check.
Got it. Okay. And what are you specifically looking for? We asked this of Simon as to what he was looking for the trade. We asked this of Rob as to what he was looking for the ideal model for him. What's the ideal thing for you to land on your inbox, or for you to see on Zoom or to see on stage? What's the ideal investment that you're looking for?
So this is succinctly put into about 5 or 6 words. I'm just going to read these out because this is an academic, entrepreneurial founder, angel investor here in Cambridge. And I'll just read it out. Global, sustainable, underserved or unmet market need. Global because it needs to grow big in order that we get the sort of return we expect. Sustainable means the business, this isn't sustainable in the sense it was being used earlier on. This is sustainable in terms of the business being sustainable as a business. Underserved or unmet. So unmet means that you're disrupting something new. Underserved means you can join other people in the market. And then market need. It must get to the point where there are customers that will pay money for it. There are plenty of examples of businesses that sell WhatsApp, for instance, that sold some stupid amount of money to Facebook that wasn't making any money. There's plenty of those examples. I sold one to Apple a couple of years ago, which had never raised an invoice, and it went for a number that is somewhere on the internet, but I can't mention it in front of an audience. But it was big compared with the fact they hadn't raised any invoices. So it doesn't have to be a EBITDA, a profit-based multiple or a sales-based multiple. It can be based on the technology and the team, the intellectual property and the team. But in general, it's got to get to the point of standing on its own 2 feet, because the only thing that will support it before it stands on its own 2 feet are either grants or equity or potentially debt. But the sort of things I invest with don't usually get debt. They've probably exited before they get to the point they can raise debt.
Peter, would you invest in Ocado? Rob mentioned them earlier. What's your view of them on an investment basis?
Yeah, exactly. I invest very early stage, so I don't know who the founders are. So would I have invested in the founders? Probably. I would think. I mean, they've achieved it. That's with a lot of hindsight, obviously. Would I have invested in a warehouse full of robots? Probably not. We'll come on to Dogtooth again in a minute, and this is to do with capital. I'm not very, although I do hardware rather than software. Most angels do software. My background, my technology background is hardware. This is things that you solder together. And they are quite frightening to the average angel because their cycle time between changes takes a long time. If you're going to change the buy button on Amazon from red to blue, it takes that time. If you're going to change a semiconductor wafer, it can take 9 months. And the working capital requirement and the supply chain, etc. So do hardware. But hardware, where there's a big capex, capital expenditure, 100K plus, million plus, whatever, is really difficult thing to invest in as an angel.
I mentioned them because coincidentally, on the radio station I was listening to this morning, they had the CCO of Deliveroo for the UK and Ireland, and he was stating how by the end of the year they're going to come into 100 towns. But that model doesn't make any money, and the people that I know that use them, deploy Deliveroo, they're getting charged 35% commission as a restaurant to use them, and they're fearful that because they're not making any money, that the investors are going to demand a margin increase of 40-50%. And so you've got the likes of Deliveroo, you've got the likes of Uber, you've got the likes of Ocado, as good as they are, that haven't actually made any money to date. But then I suppose the likes of Amazon in its early days didn't make any money, but look where they are now.
Yeah, Facebook, all these companies don't make any money. And that's where angels or VCs come in. It's where somebody needs to either build tech or a market that takes time to actually make some money. And in fact, you're slightly wrong about Uber, because in many geographies around the world, Uber is making money. And I suspect Ocado is making money as well, but I don't know.
Yep. Okay. And tell us this great example about dog tooth tech, please. We're fascinated to hear.
Yeah, dog tooth's already been mentioned, actually. So this is a Cambridge startup, and I got to know it through the community. It's hardware, so I quite like that, but it isn't actually, although it's a hardware product, it's a robot, it's a software problem. So it's a couple of guys who'd come out of another journey, which involved vision systems, and thought they'd like to put robots into agriculture. And they looked at various things they do, and they chose the one, and Marion, who's on the board with me, who was probably listening to this, they chose the one which was the highest value per meter traveled. This is what they said anyway. And now I presume there's some other fruit that's higher, but it was strawberries. But the problem isn't the robot. There's been robots around for decades, many decades. It's the vision system. It's deciding whether a strawberry is ripe enough to pick. And then they're not always ones that hang off the table. The tabletop ones, not on the ground. They don't always hang off nicely. They can be tucked away behind foliage. It's getting it in there. And in fact, it picks it by clipping the stalk, and so it doesn't touch the fruit, so it doesn't bruise the fruit, and then it can do an examination of the whole thing. So it's got the complexity of this is just mind-boggling. So it's an artificial intelligence machine learned system that's then got to work out through the robot to actually pick the fruit. And we've got, we've built about 25 or 30 of them. Who was saying that they've seen one earlier? Or was it Jacqui said they've seen one in a field somewhere? So yeah, we're getting there. We have them in Tasmania, not at the moment due to COVID. We have them around the UK, just testing at the moment though. We've raised about 5 million so far.
Crikey. Oh, Peter, we could speak to you all day, like we could with Rob and Simon. Just coming back to you, are you people who are excited to get in contact with you to see whether you'd be of interest to them and vice versa? Is that okay? Are you willing to accept new investments?
Yeah, actually no, because I've just hit 65, so I'm in level 5 on the vaccine program, and I've decided to stop now very soon, because the deep tech B2B I do takes 10, 12 years to get there, so that would make me late 70s if I live that long, and I don't want to leave too much behind after my 55 or so investments I've still got there. So I'm just about stopping. However, I'm a good point of contact to other investors. So if you reach out to me, I might not invest directly, but bear in mind the Cambridge community here, if you reach into our community, does B2B and deep tech. It doesn't do it almost does no consumer, no brand building, no FMCG, which is why we don't do much agri-tech actually. So, and this is why to some extent I'm an imposter on this program, because I actually know very little about agri-tech investing, and my father was a dentist, so I was nowhere near a farm in a city up north. So.
Fantastic. Oh, Peter, we've learned so much from you. Can everyone come on in? And Barbara's going to tell me off because we've drastically overrun with our interviews, but I think they've been so fascinating. And if Peter, if you can find someone who can invest in a system on Zoom so that I can run videos properly and professionally, that'd be fantastic. So I've just got a question in from Jacob in South Africa, who's just WhatsApped me. He would love to know as to how this sector of innovation within fresh produce is going to be affected by COVID. Is it going to be dramatically affected in a positive manner or a negative manner? So come on, Simon, let's throw that at you. Is this sector going to be affected positively or negatively as we hopefully all climb out of this COVID debacle?
Already has, sadly. This summer, influx of unskilled workers, massive loss in productivity, on costs. Business is already very fragile. A lot of concern about return of workers for next year. transport issues, Brexit, unprecedented. I mean, it's a widely used word, but it is really unprecedented. So it's going to be, really difficult year, I think.
And Simon, as we get through it, isn't I don't want to say that that expression, never waste a crisis. Isn't there going to be an opportunity here for the likes of University of Lincoln, for the likes of Rob, for the likes of the growers, that people will want more fresh food because they know it actually does them good rather than eating rubbish? We got Boris Johnson, who stated that after he got COVID, one of the reasons was because he was overweight, and we need to get this nation fit. So there's going to be a drive towards more fresh produce consumption, and there's going to be a drive towards more efficiencies and more automation, more robotics on the back of that. So surely, Simon, that's going to be directly in your ball court, isn't it?
Yeah. Adversity is mother of invention, absolutely no doubt. And not only do we need UK produced produce, we need that supply of food, but it will create robotic supply chains. It's going to create innovation, and it will create solutions for the future, as will Brexit. It's already done that, and the UK is in a good position in terms of robotics and automation to do that. What I fear is it's still very, very easy to import fruit, and what we need to make sure is that the UK economy really benefits from the UK consumers. And I don't know at the moment whether that is guaranteed.
And Mark, just coming to you as our sustainability expert, answering Jacob's question, do you think we're going to see a benefit in the fresh produce sector because of COVID, as Simon and I have just intimated?
So in the medium to long term, I actually think there could be significant benefits. Particularly, people are more conscious around health and sustainability, immunoresistance, what they eat and how it affects their resistant systems. We seem to be seeing signs that are driving people to the consumption of more fresh fruit and veg and produce. And I think, bearing in mind that the UK imports at least 2/3 of its fresh fruits and vegetables. I live in Herefordshire. We import apples from New Zealand. We're a temperate country. We should be growing more temperate fresh fruit and vegetables. And I think one thing COVID has demonstrated is the need for resilience within our food supply chains, and relying on temperate fresh fruit and vegetables imported from other parts of the world when we're perfectly capable of doing that in the UK is one example. So I'm hopeful that it will influence and drive demand, but also drive investment and policy to support that investment.
Mark Driscoll for Prime Minister. Jacqui, your view, please.
Yeah, I mean, Mark said it all, really. We have the wherewithal and capability to produce a lot more. We've just heard from three people at very different stages of the investment profile. I think clearly the reference made around grants, there are significant grants available at the moment. The Innovate UK funding has opened up a wealth of investment for small businesses to explore. But actually this point around sustainability is critical, and I think we need to support that agenda. The food strategy will give us a clear direction on that, but actually talking about that broad sustainability agenda for me is the enabler for people to invest with confidence.
Thank you, Jacqui. And Barbara, you were nodding then to Jacqui's comments. So do you agree, and also do you agree with Mark's view that we should be growing more of what we consume in the UK, because we've all been associated with businesses that are bringing a lot of product in? Do you think we need to curtail that?
I think we need to have a balanced approach, because there will clearly be some things that we can't grow, but Mark has made sure in his statement, he's talking about temperate crops. But obviously it's about having the right crops in the right place and making sure the infrastructure is there to support it. So yes, we can probably do a lot more, but it's a question of what do we do well and what can we manage. So I think there is some mileage in that, but it's about looking at the overall piece of what we're doing. And I don't think as a nation we've ever been fully able to supply our own food. We've always had to import. So it's about making sure that we're only doing what we need to do rather than just because we feel like it.
And we had we've got a great question just in that's sort of similar to the one I asked when we were in our green room about some issues within the dairy sector, new technology. Are farmers, growers and small agribusinesses prepared to take up the new technology or innovation? And also, can they afford it in the future as farm incomes reduce? Rob Ward, what do you think?
That's an easy one. I think that the cost of capital is very stable, i.e. cheap. And when you compare that to labour costs, I think that probably could be a better and better option. So it's a shame that technology talked about earlier on in dairy farming not working as well as it could do. It's probably the exception, not the rule. Yeah. I've heard lots of positive things about it. And I think there's a ton of people in their 20s that would love to get into farming through the tech element, to the tech work, because it fits with their lifestyle. They spend a lot of time on computers and screens doing games and things. And actually, they're really teenagers too. They could find a much easier way into the sector, whereas previously they might have not come into the sector. So there's a lot of opportunities here, but it will be a much more technical bias. But it always has been. You know, it used to be a horse and it became a tractor. That was a technical change. It's the same now. Mm.
Yeah, but Rob, I don't know if you remember that example a couple of years ago. I can't remember the name of the farmer, but a farmer up in Lincolnshire couldn't find a tractor driver, and so they advertised for a software engineer because this was £200,000 worth of kit with sat nav and highly complex computer-aided design, and they got three people out of I think it was Grantham or Peterborough with a software background, and one of them got the job and is now happily driving a £200,000 computer around the fields of Lincolnshire. Peter, just with your investment background, what are the problems we've got, Peter, in this sector is that margins keep on getting squeezed, whether it be for the farmer or whether it be for produce companies. Do you think with this investment that there's a way that we can actually influence better margin return, that we can actually indicate to the retailers that there's so much positive innovation going on that the growers, they do need more return because of the innovation that's coming in, but the innovation costs, and could Mr. Retailer, Mrs. Retailer give them a little bit more margin so that they can invest in that innovation through some of the investments that you've been made? Can you wave that magic wand for us? Can our farmers and growers get more money?
There's two elements to that. One is automation. It's generally been there since the Industrial Revolution in the 19th century in order to improve margins, doesn't it? Improve efficiency. So whatever automation, whether you're putting in a accountancy package 20 years ago, or whether you're putting in, using, getting rid of servers and going into the cloud, these are all to do with improving efficiency of an internal organization in terms of manpower and margins on sales. That isn't the problem, in my view, and this is where my imposter, I have a view even if I'm an imposter. It's value chains. It's the value chain between the consumer and the producer, or wherever, or even the seed provider in the end. And it's that value and how that's split. That's the thing that's broken in the UK because of the power at the top end of the supermarkets. So there's pressure. So you can improve efficiency down the bottom end, and so you should be doing, and farmers are, and everybody in the ecosystem is. But that's still not going to make as much difference as doing something further up the value chain. Just because you think about it, it makes the leverage effect. If you're bottom 2% up here, can make 20% down here at the bottom end. If you look at the economics.
Yeah, but and we've got a great question in that segues quite nicely into it. And I'm going to throw it at our nutritionist expert, Barbara Bray, MBE. How does the panel suggest we develop a more joined up and whole system approach to these issues for ag tech farmers and growers, to consumers, and with nutritional and diabetic direct support, as well as margin? Barbara, how would you answer that, please?
Well, going back to what Simon said at the very beginning, the UK is incredibly well placed in all the different services and structures that it has, but it's about joining them all up. So it's about having platforms like this where you get people who are in finance and experts in innovation and experts in science and technology all coming to that same place, because I think it makes it very difficult for farmers and growers to know where to go to A, get the innovation support, B, get the finance, and C, know how that's going to benefit their business. Farming businesses have got so many things to focus on. They just really need a one-stop shop. And I don't think the UK has been very good at providing a one-stop shop. We've been very good at, like Simon is saying, is creating something, but scaling it up and kind of getting that out into the community that needs it has been something that we haven't been so good at. So yes, we've been great at ideas, but now we need to be better at collaboration and making sure that people are facilitated to get that end result of being able to launch something and pay for it and let it help their business.
Barbara, well done. And everyone, we've run out of time, and I just want to finish off with getting a closing statement from you. I've also been taught with these broadcasts or podcasts that people want to take away 5 things. They want to learn 5 new things, and you look at the experts that we've got in front of us. So I'm just going to present this this call to action question to you, and I'm going to recycle our title. How can we leverage finance to develop viable innovation to support healthy and sustainable produce in the UK? So what is our call for action? Simon, let's start with you, please.
I think the crucial thing is everybody needs to get involved. It's not owned by one person. It's about co-creation, working together, and that's the only way we're going to get finance coming in. Working together to define the opportunity.
Simon, well done. And we found this all the way through this broadcast series. Working together, collaboration. Collaboration is such a key thing. Jacqui, what is your answer to our call to action, please?
I think what we've heard from our guests today is that there's no shortage of funds available. So I think it's being brave and putting your ideas and innovations out there. If it's existing technology and innovation, taking it and having a go with it. You know, clearly there is no shortage, and obviously the cost of capital is at a relative low. So in terms of the finance side, set that aside and dare to be brave.
Rob, please, what's your call to action?
I'm coming back to life here. I think it's I think collaboration is the name of the game for the Oxford Farming Conference, and I think that is very strong. And by helping people with ideas, I think there are farmers with innovations in their heads, as I had when I was 27 and invented my system, which was an ag tech business today. That is the case. So finding ways to share your ideas, work with the institutions like Lincoln and all the others to start to grow out these businesses, connect with angel investors, start to work with people like DIT and with other farmers to build this ecosystem that becomes this powerhouse to develop the best ideas in industry. That's where I want to go.
Rob, well done. Peter, what is your call to action on how we can leverage finance to develop viable innovation to support healthy and sustainable produce in the UK, and especially with you'll be very modest about your lack of experience in this sector, but your generalist experience. I mean, it'd be fascinating to hear your view.
Yeah, I must keep this very short, but we didn't cover that. Why I and other angels don't invest in the sector, and there are 2 reasons for this. One, that we invest more locally to our entrepreneurs because we want to help them, etc. Even, that would go back to post-COVID as well. And there aren't enough angels in the areas where there are the agri-tech businesses. And secondly, the problem is this industry, this sector is conservative. It takes time to adopt things, so not just the sales process, but also the time frame as well. And angels don't like to play in that space because they don't like the idea of having to fund something for a very long time. So unfortunately, this isn't a call to action. This is, we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait till there's more successes. We'll have to wait till there's more angels, rather than any particular statement I can make now.
Peter, I think that with these broadcasts, having people on here who are slightly out of sector and could look at our sector with cold eyes and actually give that yes, I think we all know the sector is quite conservative, but sometimes we need to be told that. And actually, if we increase the pace, we might get to where we all want to get to a little bit faster. So I'm now going to go head to head with Barbara and Mark on this call to action to see what they've both got to say. But Barbara, do you want to go first, please?
Well, like it's been said, be bold, but also collaborate. So I would love people to leave this call and look at the organisations that we've got in the UK, so the Lincolns and Harper Adams. Have a look. If you've got an idea, like Rob says, now's the time to be bold and go to an institution with that idea and see what help and support you can get to develop it.
Fantastic. And Mark, over to you, please.
So to me, I think it's got to be the right type of investment and innovation. So number one, it's about maximizing value for producers and consumers. For consumers, it's not just financial value, or that's a big drive. It could be, healthy, sustainable produce. And the second thing is ensuring investment is all about reducing inefficiencies and waste, lowering inputs, pesticides, fertilizers, etc. So those are the kind of two criteria I see in terms of appropriate investments, which we could probably talk about much more.
Fantastic. Everyone, we've drastically overrun, but I think it's been fantastic. I think to have the level of quality of speakers, of panelists that we've had today, over and above Mark and Jacqui and Barbara, has been fantastic. So just want to thank everyone. You can hopefully pick up on this on the podcast, and if you want the contact details for the likes of Simon at the University of Lincoln or Peter, we've all got to pick up Peter's book. Peter, are your books available on Amazon? I hope they're in the top 5. Peter, turn on your mic. Peter, turn on your mic. This is your big sales moment. Are your books available on Amazon?
Yeah, printed, Kindle, and audiobook. Yep, on Amazon. Invested Investor. Thank you. Excellent. For the push.
No problem. Everyone, well done. Thank you very much. Keep safe, and we look forward to seeing you all at next month's Healthy and Sustainable Food Group broadcast on Beanstalk. Keep safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, 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 bye.